The views, information, and opinions expressed during the following program are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent the views of Access Communications, its representatives, or its employees.
Good evening and welcome to Decision 2025, Our Country, Our Vote. My name is Lisa Peters and I will be your moderator for this debate. I want to recognize and acknowledge that the location of tonight's debate is on Treaty 4 lands. These are the traditional territories of the Cree, the Dene, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, Saulteaux, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. Access Communication is committed to honoring the history, spirituality, and rich culture of the Indigenous peoples in this region. This evening is being brought to you by the Regina and Region Home Builders Association, Agricultural Producers of Saskatchewan, AccessNow TV, and the Regina and District Chamber of Commerce. In preparation for the evening's debate, draws were made for opening comments, closing comments, and podium positions. Tonight's debate will be for the candidates in the Regina Wascana riding. I'd now like to introduce to you the candidates for this evening. At Podium 1, we have Caitlin Stadnick, the New Democratic Party. Podium 2, Jeffrey Walters, Liberal Party of Canada. And Podium 3, Peter Bruce, People's Party of Canada. We will go to our opening comments, and the first opening comment goes to you, Mr. Walters. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having us, and thank you for putting this on. It's very important for us to be able to do this. I appreciate the candidates who showed up tonight to show the seriousness of this event and the seriousness of this election. Much like many of you in Regina Wascana, I was born and raised in Saskatchewan and grew up in a very working class family who instilled working class values that I still live by today. Hard work, perseverance, loyalty. It was those things that make me the person that I am. And 20 years ago, my wife and 5 kids and I hopped into a car, drove to Regina so that I could work for the Department of Agriculture. I then moved on to the Department of Indian Affairs, where it was my job to help give compensation to survivors of residential schools. And for the past 15 years, I've been a lecturer at the University of Regina, teaching such things as democracy, human rights, and political economy. Now, make no mistake, this election is probably the most important election of our lifetime. It will literally define Canada's role and place in the world. It will define Canada's role and place in the future. It will define what our Canada will be like for our children. And the choice could not be more clear. On the one side, we have Mark Carney and the Liberal Party offering a politics of hope, of unity, and of diversity. On the other side, we have the Conservative Party under Pierre Poilievre and Michael Cram, who's not here tonight, offering really nothing more but a politics of darkness, of disunity, of chaos. And I do believe that the voters and folks of Regina Wascana will make the correct choice for this election. And I do believe that that correct choice is myself to be representative for this riding in Ottawa. So I'm humbly asking for your vote tonight so that I can have the honor of being your representative in Ottawa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Next opening comment, let's go to you, Mr. Bruce. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting this, this presentation tonight. I'm a transplant. I moved here from Toronto in 1981 for a job with SaskTel. I knew nothing about Regina, but quickly I learned it was a warm community, a community with a high level of trust among the residents here. People helped each other. People reached out. I've done lots of service work in the community in the years since I've moved here. I don't want to live anywhere else. But I see our country slipping. Canada is becoming unrecognizable. Our national debt has doubled in the last 10 years. We have 100,000 more civil servants than we did 10 years ago, a 30% increase. Our oil and gas development has been stifled. It's necessary for our lives, our livelihoods, and our way of living. The pipelines that deliver that oil and gas to our markets, our homes, our businesses, has been strangled with regulations that make it nigh impossible for investors to complete them. Mass immigration has made housing out of reach for many young Canadians, postponing family formation and helping to lower the birth rate, which our country needs to increase. Our legacy media has been co-opted by the government, making them a PR branch of the Prime Minister's office.
Mr. Bruce, your time is done. I want to thank you. Ms. Stadnik, opening comments, you have 2 minutes.
Hello there. My name is Caitlin Stadnik. I'm your NDP candidate out here in Regina Wascana. I'm a young person. I've spent my teens and my 20s right here at home in Regina, working and volunteering in social services, and also watching far too many people fall through the cracks. I know what it's like to do everything right, but still barely scrape by. I've shared a home with multiple roommates. I've worked 2 or more jobs. I've skipped meals to afford my rent. And my student loans don't care if I've eaten this week or this month. And I've had friends put off filling their prescriptions because they just can't afford it. This isn't bad luck. This is bad policy. We're living through a manufactured crisis, where housing is treated like a commodity and not a human right, where groceries are price gouged by corporations, where billionaires and millionaires can dodge their taxes while we have to be, or where we're told to tighten our belts. And now the Liberals, under Carney, are promising $43 billion in cuts to services we already can't afford. Meanwhile, Poilievre and the Conservatives have helped write this playbook, slashing oversight, cutting deals with tax havens, and now they're offering even more handouts to the ultra-wealthy and the well-connected. The NDP is done playing pretend. We're not here to manage this decline. We're here to change the system. With national rent control, free dental care, free pharmacare, grocery price caps, and a wealth tax so these billionaires and millionaires can finally pay their fair share. Young people, we're not lazy, we're exhausted. And that's why now more than ever, young people like myself are stepping up. Thank you.
Ms. Stadnik. All right, we will begin our debate. And our first question will go back to you, Ms. Stadnik. We're going to talk local and economic. How will you support the diversification of Regina's economy beyond traditional industries like oil, gas, and agriculture? You have 1 minute.
Regina's economy can't just rely on oil, gas, and agriculture forever. We need to diversify, and we need to diversify now. This means investing in clean energy jobs, tech and innovation, and the care economy, all while making sure that workers are protected with good wages and strong unions. This also means supporting young people and entrepreneurs. So invest in the people, especially our youth. This means better access to post-secondary education and training in these emerging industries. As a young person myself, I know how important it is to have real opportunities here at home. And we shouldn't have to leave Regina just to build a future. So let's stop letting these big corporations dictate our future. Let's invest in people and the planet. Let's build a sustainable, just economy that works for all of us.
Thank you, Ms. Stadnik. Mr. Walters, you have 1 minute.
All right, thank you. So there's a lot of exciting things we can do to diversify our economy here in Regina. And one of the things that my predecessors, Ralph Goodale, used to do is actually do that quite well. He was one of the purveyors of actually getting things done, which was one of the things that we're missing right now under Michael Cram. The easiest thing that we can do, and probably the wisest, is to get away from our boom and bust cycles that we have here. And since Donald Trump, it's a new world out there, and we have to stop thinking north-south and start thinking east-west. As we do that and we build infrastructure east-west that will help the local economy, add value to our raw commodities, but something more close to my heart that Ralph used to do also is find research funding for the U of R. For the past several years, that's been missing at the U of R to the extent that we used to have. We have excellent facilities here that we can have major research projects here, and that's something we should explore.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Mr. Bruce, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the policies in the platform of the People's Party of Canada is removing trade barriers among the provinces and territories. That will help stimulate the flow of goods, the access to markets that we need to diversify the local economy here. Also, we believe in reducing general levels of taxation so that businesses don't find it prohibitive to operate. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bruce. Well, our second question will go to Mr. Walters first. We're talking about job creation. Regina has seen job losses in certain sectors over the past few years. What specific measures will you take to create new jobs in the city, especially for young people? You have 1 minute.
All right, one of the things that it's probably the easiest to do is to start for the first time considering Canada as one economy instead of 13. And that really means eliminating interprovincial trade barriers. Once we do that at all levels, it's $350 billion extra dollars we can spend in an east-west infrastructure that we have to build so that we're more prepared in this new world. So that is essentially one of the things that Mark Carney has actually proposed in doing, and it will essentially diversify and create jobs as we go forward. So really, it's all about getting rid of those trade barriers, using the extra cash we get from that to put into our infrastructure so that at the end of the day, we're much more ready for the new world than we have been for the past, 30 years.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Mr. Bruce, you have 1 minute.
Can you repeat the question, please?
I sure can. Regina has seen job losses in certain sectors over the past few years. What specific measures will you take to create new jobs in the city, especially for young people?
I think at the macro level, which is where federal parties operate, we have to remove barriers to business, reduce regulations, reduce taxation, let the local job markets, let the local economies make the decisions as to where they want to put their investment and money and create those jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Ms. Stadnik, you have 1 minute.
To create new jobs in Regina, particularly for young people, we need to invest in the industries of the future. The NDP's approach includes green energy initiatives, like renewable energy projects. These will create thousands of jobs in sectors such as wind and solar energy. This will also help us tackle the climate crisis and diversify our economy. We will also focus on technology and innovation, supporting local tech startups, and making sure that we have the skilled workforce to fuel this growth. This includes expanding public education and training programs in sectors like tech, green energy, and skilled trades. The NDP is also committed to supporting small businesses, providing incentives for entrepreneurs to start businesses and grow right here at home in Regina.
Thank you, Ms. Stadnik. All right, candidates, our next question is on housing affordability, and it comes from Stu Niebergall. It has been pre-recorded. He is from the Regina and Region Home Builders Association. Let's have a listen.
Housing remains one of Canada's biggest election issues. The great Canadian dream of home ownership isn't what it once was. For many young Canadians, it feels more like a fantasy than a future. What is your party's plan to make homeownership a realistic goal again, particularly for first-time buyers?
Mr. Bruce, this question will come to you first. You have 1 minute.
The biggest item that we have to deal with concerning housing in Canada, the affordability and availability of housing in Canada, is to look at the level of migration to our country in recent years. It's exceeded the last Conservative government's levels of immigration by 4 or 5 times. That level of migration was adopted by the government of Canada under Justin Trudeau signing on to the Global Migration Compact, which committed that government to bringing in ever-increasing numbers of foreigners. We have to stop that. We have to have a moratorium on immigration to make housing eventually more affordable for the young.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Ms. Stadnik, you have 1 minute.
The NDP understands the dream of homeownership has become so far out of reach, especially for our young people. Our plan focuses on making housing affordable again and providing real solutions for first-time homebuyers. First, we will implement a national rent control to stop the skyrocketing rents that make it difficult to save for a home. By stabilizing the rent, we can help young people start saving without the constant worry of being priced out of their homes. For first-time buyers, we'll create a federal housing strategy that includes a down payment assistance, which will make it easier for young people to get into the housing market. We'll also increase investment in non-marketing housing, so affordable housing options can be more available to our young Canadians. Lastly, the NDP is committed to taxing the ultra-rich and the well-connected. By using these funds to reinvest in affordable housing and ensuring that everyone has a place to call home, we will make sure that housing is not just a fantasy. It should be an achievable goal.
All right, we will move on to Mr. Walters. You have 1 minute.
Okay, so, I mean, I got 5 kids. Obviously, I would rather them stay here than have to move on. That's the goal of any parent. And so it's important for us to get this right. I mean, housing affordability or affordability for housing is a big deal. Not everybody has $500,000 or $1 million sitting in their back pocket. So one of the great things that Mark Carney has actually proposed is a massive building program for affordable housing to the tune of around 500,000 new homes a year for the next 10 years. And the kicker bonus for all of this is that the plan calls for using as much Canadian product as possible, so it actually is helping with the local economy more that way. So this is the most ambitious housing program since the Second World War. That's how seriously we're taking it, and affordable housing is one of those things that everybody needs. It is one of those things that should be a human right.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. All right, we will move on to our fourth question. It is economic policy and budget. The question is, what is your party's strategy in dealing with the ever-changing U.S. tariffs? This first question will go to you, Ms. Stadnik. You have 1 minute.
The NDP recognizes that the U.S. tariffs can have significant impacts on our country, especially our businesses and workers. We need a strong, proactive approach to ensure that our economy is not at the mercy of these tariffs. First, we'll diversify our trade relationship beyond the U.S. by strengthening ties with our global partners, particularly in these emerging markets. This will help shield us from the validity of the U.S. trade policies and ensure that businesses have a broader range of customers. Second, we need to support Canadian industries that are facing these tariffs and the pressure from these tariffs. The NDP's economic policy focuses on investing in innovation, technology, and clean energy industries, which will provide long-term growth and reduce our reliance on the U.S. Lastly, we will fight for a fair trade policy.
Thank you, Ms. Stadnik. To you, Mr. Walters. You have 1 minute.
All right, so let's be very clear here. We have no interest to be the 51st state. I don't think anybody has any of that interest, and if they do, they can just move to the states on their own. We have an agent of chaos to the south who used to be one of our strongest allies, and that really has changed the game with regard to our economic system. There's no doubt about it. As I mentioned before, we have to stop thinking what we have been doing the past 30 years, that north-south infrastructure that we have built, and start thinking east-west, more Canadian independence, and really thinking about other trading partners that are out there. I mean, it's not saying we're going to completely ignore the American market or even the Chinese market, but diversification to allow us more independence, allow us to be stronger and not so dependent, so that one agent of chaos can completely wreck us the way that other states might have. So that's our plan.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Walters. Mr. Bruce, you have 1 minute.
Again, I'm going to mention the removal of interprovincial trade barriers and barriers to the territories as well. Secondly, we must not respond to U.S. tariffs by posing counter tariffs. That's only going to hurt Canadians more, who are already hurting with the cost of living. We've got too 2 million people go into food banks. Another thing is we should focus on our shortcomings. Reinforce our borders, reinforce our commitments to defense, and you know, what the Americans are telling us in their responses is, we don't owe you a lifeline just because you failed to build one for yourself. So let's build a lifeline, Canada.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. All right, we will move on to local representation as our next topic. How will you ensure that the voices of Regina residents are heard and prioritized in federal policy decisions, particularly in areas like resource development, health care, and education? This question will go to you first, Mr. Walters. You have 1 minute.
All right. Well, one of the first things you probably have to do as a representative, or should do, is to simply show up. And that's probably step one. But at the end of the day, the job of the MP is to represent a certain riding. And that representative should know what the riding needs so that they can advocate for that in Ottawa. And again, showing up is one thing. What Ralph Goodale showed us quite well is that you can do things and you can understand your actual riding and you can actually advocate for them in Ottawa effectively, no matter who's in power. That's the key. For me personally, what I've been saying since this campaign has started, that I would wish to follow in those footsteps. And one of the things that I have promised is that I will, in fact, as MP, hold habitual town halls open to the public so anybody, not just party members, can come talk to me and let me know what their concerns are. My job is to be your voice in Ottawa. My job is to be and have that seat at the table to address our concerns in Regina Wascana so that their urban policy is made.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Mr. Bruce, you have 1 minute.
This is getting old. Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes, I can. How will you ensure that the voices of Regina residents are heard and prioritized in federal policy decisions, particularly in areas like resource development, health care, and education?
I'm learning a lot as a candidate. I've never been an MP before. It's a steep learning curve. People have reached out to me in the community asking for my opinions on matters, and I've given them replies that seem to be satisfactory to them. I hold candidate meetings every 2 weeks, or I have done up until now, before the election, asking people to come and meet with me and share their concerns. I'm going to build on those processes. I don't know where it's going to take me. I don't know how I'm going to address people's concerns should I be elected, but I'm a fast learner and I've got an open mind. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Ms. Stadnick, you have 1 minute.
To ensure that the voices of Regina residents are heard and prioritized in federal policy, I'll focus on strong and direct engagement. I believe in listening to people, understanding their unique needs, and fighting for policies that reflect those. In terms of resource development, it's essential that we balance economic growth with environmental responsibility. I'll advocate for investments in sustainable energy and ensure that our resource sector remains competitive while minimalizing environmental impact. On healthcare, I'm committed to fighting for a national pharmacare program to reduce the burden on families, especially in a city like Regina, where healthcare accessibility is strained. We need to make sure that everyone has access to these necessary services when and where they need them. Finally, on education, I'll be a fierce advocate for more funding.
Thank you, Ms. Stadnick. We'll move on to our next question, which is on governance. Why is your leader the right leader for Canada? We will start with you, Mr. Bruce. You have 1 minute.
Max Bernier is a leader with experience in the Canadian Parliament, and he understands the role of the Constitution in the governance of our country. And the federal government has gone beyond the bounds of Section 91, which describes the scope of the federal powers, and it's intruded into the lane of the provinces, Section 92. Our leader believes in rebalancing those powers to their original and rebalancing the funds that go to them. So in other words, we would stay out of education and healthcare, give that back to the provinces, and give them tax points to pay for that transition of authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Ms. Stadnik, you have 1 minute.
Lately, have you had to choose between putting food on your table or paying your rent? Have you had to drive far miles just to see a family doctor? Are you unable to see a family doctor or fill your prescription? Well, the NDP, those are the values that we're fighting for. We're fighting to make this country a better country for you and our family, because what's good for this economy is what's good for your family. So, vote for change, vote for fairness, vote for a future where no one is left behind. Vote NDP.
Thank you, Ms. Stadnik. Mr. Walters, you have 1 minute.
Well, my leader's Mark Carney, obviously, and I had the pleasure of meeting him back a few months ago when he was still running for leadership. And one of the things that impressed myself as a lecturer at the university is that he kind of speaks my language, and that means that he actually knows what he's talking about. It's one of those rare things, I think, in politics when you have a leader that actually know what they're doing. For those of you who don't know Mark, he's a PhD in economics. He was leader of the Bank of Canada through the last recession. He was also the governor of the Bank of England when they were going through Brexit. If anybody is fit for the times with regard to economic change and our place in the world as Canada and the new economy, he's the guy. And when we have an agent of chaos down south, who is very unpredictable, to me it's comforting knowing that we have somebody who knows what they're doing in place. So for myself, Mark Carney is really the perfect leader for the times.
Thank you, Ms. Walters. Mr. Walters, sorry. We will now move to candidate questions. Each candidate will be given 20 seconds to ask a question to whomever they choose. The candidate that has been asked the question will have 40 seconds to respond. The first candidate question goes to you, Ms. Stadnik. You have 20 seconds to ask your question.
Mr. Walters, so many people in Regina are struggling with housing affordability, especially as rent continues to rise. The NDP has called for national rent control and more affordable housing solutions. Do you believe that the federal government should step in to address the housing crisis? And if so, how will you ensure that young Canadians and first-time buyers aren't left behind?
Thank you for the question.
You're welcome.
So, for myself personally, I was in fact homeless when I was 17, so I know what it feels like to not have a home, and that's one of the things that's made me into the person I am today. What I see is finally having the federal government over the past few months bypassing the province and working directly with the municipalities as a means of trying to get money flowing to help create such things as affordable homes is one of the major breakthroughs that we had and something we need to push forward. But as I also mentioned, we also have an ambitious housing program for affordable houses to the tune of 500,000 new houses a year for the next 10 years. I'm satisfied that that will help ease the housing crisis.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. The next question, candidate, goes to you, Mr. Walters.
All right, well, my question was actually for Michael, who's not here, unfortunately, so I can't ask that. But I will ask Caitlin, what are your views on pipelines?
Okay, hold on. My party has a very good stance on this. We can't rely on oil and gas forever. I think with these tariffs that have been put in place, it's going to take 4 years, and this is a very expensive plan. But so far, east to west, it's a good idea if we just sit down and chat with the experts. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Thank you. Mr. Bruce, you have your candidate question.
Mr. Walters, if elected, will you revive a new rendition of Bill C-63, the Online Harms Act, which would create a commission to review all the activity of Canadians online and scrutinize and
Mr.
penalize
Bruce,
some of them?
that is your time. Mr. Walters, can you answer the question?
Well, when it comes to obviously online bullying, that's something that has to be tamped down on, absolutely. And for myself personally, who actually owns a strategic communications company that deals with that, habitually it's problematic. As a lecturer at the university, there's many students that come up to me as well and ask what they can do when they're being bullied. And that is something that obviously has no place in Canada. And so for myself personally, it's definitely worth a look to see what we can do as a government to try and mitigate those issues. Nobody should feel threatened online. And that's just something that should be a Canadian value.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. All right, we'll continue our debate. Our next question is on attracting investments. How will you attract both domestic and international investment to Saskatchewan, and what incentives will you offer? This first question will go to you, Mr. Walters. You have 1 minute.
Okay, well, investment obviously is an important thing. We need that to survive, but it's really about diversification in Saskatchewan. It's something that we've been mentioning for decades now, to diversify. But as I mentioned before, this is a new world now, and we have to start thinking and reimagining our place in it. And let's be clear, oil and gas and even potash are finite resources that won't be here forever. It's something that we have to consider moving forward, other industries that we can invest in, such as critical minerals, for example, or even a green transition, which is the way of the future anyway. Those are the things that, with new markets and our new ability to perhaps corner those markets, if we're proactive enough to step forward in it, I'm confident that with the money saved through interprovincial trade barriers coming down, that with that new infrastructure that we're creating, we can in fact attract much more investment to help Canada and Saskatchewan.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Mr. Bruce, you have 1 minute.
Okay, I think that the key to attracting investment is to have an environment that is stable and safe. That would include the elimination of trade barriers between provinces and territories within Canada. That would create a lot more available capital for investment. Also, the removal of the federal government from spheres that belong to the province. That'll take care of a lot of red tape. We don't need that kind of duplication. And I think that will signal a green light to the investment market that Saskatchewan is open for business. Our resources are not renewable like potash and oil, but progress is developed by the community, by the scientific community in the meantime.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Ms. Stadnik, you have 1 minute.
The key to investing or attracting investment is putting people before profits. I will consult with stakeholders to develop policies that promote economic growth, attract this investment, and support our local businesses and entrepreneurs. I will champion policies that protect our environment and safeguard our natural resources.
Thank you, Ms. Stadnik. Our next question will be on education. What steps will you take to address the issue of student debt and rising tuition, particularly for those attending post-secondary institutions in Regina? This first question will go to you, Mr. Bruce. You have 1 minute.
Student debt, I believe, yeah, that is a problem. And I think the government has to get out of that business of funding higher fees for courses. The government has to remove itself, and then universities need to shed whatever excess costs they have to make education more affordable.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Ms. Stadnik, you have 1 minute.
No young person should have to start their life out with a mountain of debt. That's why Jagmeet Singh and the NDP are fighting to support young people. We're looking into student debt relief and working towards free tuition. The Liberals took $3 billion in interest payments over the last 3 years. That's why vote NDP. We're in it for the young people. We're in it for the average student.
Thank you, Ms. Stadnik. And to you, Mr. Walters, you have 1 minute.
All right, well, I see this quite a bit, lecture at the university, and as a person who has had student debt that took, I think, about 15 years to pay off, I get it. I absolutely get it. And it's one of those things. I mean, I personally think that there should be zero interest loans when it comes to taking out student loans. We should not profit from somebody trying to better their life, especially since government is not for profit. But tuition is a big deal. And what I mean by that is, Especially here in Saskatchewan, it's quite pricey, particularly for international students who normally have to pay about 3 times the amount of tuition just to be here. And that is egregiously unfair for the most part, and we can do a better job to ensure that our tuition are competitive. And I don't mean competitive by virtue of Harvard, but competitive by virtue of what we can pay as a society, with the payoff being an educated country, an educated student body that comes out afterwards.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Our next topic is health care. Access to health care is a concern for many in Regina, especially with long wait times. What measures will you take to ensure faster access to health care services? This first question will go to you, Ms. Stadnik.
This topic is actually quite close to my heart. I come from generations of noble women who have chosen to be nurses right here in Regina. Also here in Saskatchewan is the birthplace of pharmacare, universal health care, right under the NDP and Tommy Douglas. Steps we will take, we will just continue to advance this growth. We need more people in Ottawa.
All right, thank you, Ms. Stadnik. Mr. Walters, you have 1 minute.
Right, so much like Caitlin, healthcare is important to myself. One of my 5 children has Parkinson's, and so we deal with the healthcare system quite a bit, and we know its limitations. And those limitations are normally something that should not necessarily have to be there. For example, you shouldn't have to wait 3 years for one genetics test. That's just egregious in the cradle of healthcare. It just shouldn't happen. With regard to roles and steps that the federal government can make, the federal government essentially is a piggy bank that throws out money to the provinces who are responsible under the Constitution to spend it wisely. Unfortunately, as we found out, sometimes the provinces don't play ball with that. So there are other things that we can do. If we need more doctors, we can streamline the process, in particularly paper-wise and bureaucratic-wise, to allow us to have more doctors. If we need more staff and more infrastructure, we can negotiate with the municipalities also, and hopefully the provincial government, to make it much better and much easier. It's not a simple solution. There's no silver bullets out there, but we have to get going because we're already about 15 years behind.
Thank you, Ms. Walters. Mr. Bruce, you have 1 minute.
I believe that the healthcare shortcomings we experience in this province can be largely rectified or certainly improved if we get Ottawa, instead of mandating Canada Health Act regulations on the provinces in exchange for funding, to simply transfer over those tax points to the provinces, let them make their own decisions, let them experiment with private sector solutions as an adjunct to the universal public health care system to help reduce wait times and improve variability of options for people who need help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Our next topic is environmental policy. Regina, like many other cities, is impacted by climate change. What policies will your government implement to reduce the city's carbon footprint while supporting Saskatchewan's key industries like agricultural and resource extraction? This question goes to you first, Mr. Walters.
Well, thank you. And as I mentioned before, the green transition is something that is just going to happen. It's our future. And so we need to get on it right now. And one of the benefits of starting relatively early, although we're kind of behind a little bit by now, is to essentially corner some of those markets and allow the new industry to expand, which will give us jobs. And there's a number of ways in which we can do this. Obviously, tax credits can be used. The carbon tax appears to be out, especially for consumers, so we can scratch that off the list. But there are many different ways in which we can. And one of the good things about Saskatchewan is that we do have access to critical minerals that we can use to create batteries or whatnot. We do have access to other, well, especially wind for wind farms. We do have access to a lot of other resources that can make Saskatchewan ground zero for this new green transition here in Canada.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. All right, to you, Mr. Bruce. You have 1 minute.
Okay, well, there's no question that human activity in the world has increased the level of carbon dioxide, but exactly how impactful that one attribute is still questionable. Planting more trees is a good way to absorb carbon. Also, the industrial economy has progressed that oil and gas extraction produces way less emissions than it used to. even in the last 15 to 20 years. If we allow that progression to keep going, cleaner fuels will emerge just through improvements in technologies and techniques. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. And to you, Ms. Stadnik, you have 1 minute.
The NDP plan has been clear. We're made for people, and we're built for Canada. We're taking on some big challenges from climate change. We're trying to end fossil fuel subsidies by 2026. But Singh has made it clear. Our first budget will focus on where people are hurting the most. Rising costs, groceries, healthcare, education. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stadnik. All right, candidates, our next question will be on agriculture for Canada's growth and has been recorded in advance by Bill Probilski of Agricultural Producers of Saskatchewan. Let's have a listen.
In the APAS Federal Election Priorities document called Unleashing Agriculture for Canada's Growth, we highlight how recent changes in global trading relationships have raised urgent questions about whether Canada's transportation system is able to provide timely, cost-effective market access for agriculture and other export-dependent sectors. What specific commitments will your party make to invest in and modernize Canada's rail, road, and port infrastructure to improve the competitiveness of our agriculture sector and other export-dependent industries?
This question goes to you first, Mr. Bruce. You have 1 minute.
I must confess, this question is out of my depth and expertise, so I'm going to pass on answering it. Thank you.
That's fair, Mr. Bruce. Thank you. Ms. Stadnik, you have 1 minute.
This question is also out of my depth.
All right. We will continue on. Mr. Walters, you have 1 minute.
Does that mean I have like 3 minutes, I guess? No, no deal. All right, so one of the things, I'm from Saskatchewan. I mean, I spend enough time on farms. I also work for Agriculture, Agri-Food Canada. I know how important it is to get crops to markets, and I recognize the question from APAS, where they're going with it. And the Liberal government and Mark Carney have already, we already have a plan, the Trade Diversification Fund, that's going to spend $5 billion in order to supercharge our nation's projects for ports, railroads, inland terminals or whatnot, to start that infrastructure. So for that $5 billion alone is something that APAS is probably had been looking for and probably knows it's on its way. But there are other things too that have been going on that has not really been shown too much here in the news here in Saskatchewan. And I was very disappointed in the Conservative platform that came out yesterday that had no mention of agriculture. But doubling agri-stability, doubling the amount that the FCC can loan out, the food processing fund that actually has about $300 million that we can do food processing here in Saskatchewan. These are all net benefits for Saskatchewan and for agriculture here.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. All right, we will move on to, that was actually our last question. All right, we're moving on to closing comments. They will be in the reverse order of our opening comments. You will each be given 2 minutes. And the first closing comment will go to you, Ms. Stadnik.
All right. I show up. I listen. I care. These aren't just words. This is how I approach every single issue that impacts our community. And as your candidate for Regina Wascana, I'm committed to fighting for a future where every person, no matter their age, background, or income, has the opportunity to thrive, not just survive. The NDP isn't just talking about change. We're delivering real solutions: affordable healthcare, fair wages, and healthcare that doesn't leave people behind, and a tax system that ensures that the wealthiest and the most well-connected pay their fair share. Regina is a city with a heart, but it's also a city with challenges. Whether it's struggling to make ends meet, the fight for better healthcare, or the need for economic diversification, I'm here to ensure that your voice is heard at every level. This is time for bold action. We don't need any more empty promises. We need a representative who will show up and who will work tirelessly to ensure that this city and this country is a better place for all of us. So when you head to the polls on Monday, remember, I will show up for you. I will listen to your concerns. I will fight for a better future, the future you deserve. So vote for change, vote for fairness, and vote for a future where no one's left behind. Vote NDP.
Thank you, Ms. Stadnik. And to you, Mr. Bruce, closing comments, 2 minutes.
For 37 years, I've done volunteer service work with people recovering from substance addictions. It's a long struggle for them. I've seen them work year in, year out, day in, day out, to stay off that drug one more day. Eventually, they've built meaningful lives, good jobs, families, homes. Some of them I've seen relapse, and in one fell night, they lose everything it took them years to build, which is a tragedy. The same thing I see with this country. Generation after generation of hardworking Canadians saved up their wealth, built a great, peaceful northern society, and made a really good place to live for their children and their progeny. Let's not ruin that. Let's keep Canada recovered. Let's not relapse. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bruce. And to you, Mr. Walters, closing comments. You have 2 minutes, sorry.
2 minutes. Living the dream. Well, thank you very much again for putting this on. I appreciate it, and for taking the time to having us up here, and thanks to the candidates that came. As I mentioned before, this is serious business. We're asking to represent you, which is not, it's not something that's easy or we take it a lark. It's serious, and that's why we're here. I care deeply about this country. I care deeply about Saskatchewan, and with my 5 kids and my wife, and we made this our home, and we want our home to be the best it can be for not just our children, but everyone's children. That's kind of the whole point of government, right? The greatest good for the greatest number of people, and that's what we're trying to achieve. Now, I put my name forward to represent Regina Wascana, not because I need money or a job, but because I care deeply, and that's why I'm here. And let's make no mistake about it, this is the most important election of our lifetime. Right, we have challenges right now that we haven't had in a number of years. It's a chaotic world out there that nobody really knows how it's going to end, and Canada has to find its new place in this world. And I'm very confident that Mark Carney is that guy that can get us to that new world. For the past several years, all we've had from our opposition is telling us that we're broken, telling us that we're divided, fostering anger, and really not showing up for the people as we've seen here tonight. I personally find that distasteful. And I also think that this is indicative of a time for we really do need change here in representation. I wish to be that representation. I'm asking for your vote on April 28th, and I would be absolutely honored to be your representative in Ottawa and push for your advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. All right, well, I want to thank our candidates for your passion, showing up tonight, and being part of the democratic process. Democracy is a wonderful privilege, and we hope that you, our viewers, will exercise that freedom and by casting a ballot on April 28th. Our first debate, our only debate for the evening, is now over. We are going to come back at 7:10, and I will host a breakdown about what we heard from our candidates in Regina Wascana. I'll be hosting that with Stu Niebergall and Joel Peterson. So we will see you back at 7:10.
Access local music.
Access the alternative.
Access culture.
Access the classics.
Access the fun.
Access the conversation.
Access Now, 91.3 FM.
Local content made for Regina by the people who live here.
Hear what the people in your community are saying and what they are listening to.
It's really important that students get physical activity and have positive interactions one-on-one with each other. My name is Joel Dreger, and I'm the principal of Walter W. Brown School in Langham, Saskatchewan. One of the projects that we undertook was to build a new playground facility. We needed to raise about $100,000 for this playground. We just want to thank Access Communications Children's Fund for your generous donation. It really gave us a strong foundation to get our project off the ground.
Updating my software takes forever. Why can't I just skip it and do it later?
Outdated software can be vulnerable to security threats, which could compromise your personal information and device. Don't risk it. Update your software regularly to ensure it's equipped with the latest security features and bug fixes.
Users need to implement those updates as soon as possible, because not only is it new features, but they actually fix security vulnerabilities in the software.
Learn more at myaccess.ca/cybersecurity.
Support your community, grow your business. Sponsor an AccessNow TV production and your company will get unprecedented primetime television coverage and a platform to connect with thousands of people every day. Your logo and your message on all major television networks. We have content that suits your brand, like broadcast sports, talk shows, live events, and everything in between, ensuring that your message will reach the right audience. Call me today to find out more.
Play Access Community Bingo every Saturday at 5 p.m. for your chance to win big and support children across Saskatchewan. Visit myaccess.ca/TV Bingo.
Our award-winning Roots Kitchen and Bar, located in Harbour Landing Village, serves up great food, fostering connection over meals that feel like home. Roots Kitchen and Bar, your local neighborhood hidden gem.
Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus adds an extra layer of home security without using cameras by detecting motion through Wi-Fi signals. How smart is that? Plug in a pod and secure your home with Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus. Kids grow up fast enough as it is. Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus puts you in control of their screen time and what they see on the net, even when you're not at home. Gain control of your Wi-Fi with Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus.
I'm in Sport in Regina. We specialize in working with our customers and having product knowledge and making sure that we have the right fit so you can produce and perform. With Access Internet, I know that I can rely on the service to operate our POS system and our 3D scanner. Access Internet gives us the reassurance that we're able to do proper fittings and takes a lot off my shoulders. I'm getting a great service with Access Internet.
Access local music.
Access the alternative.
Assalamu alaikum, namaskar, sat sri akal.
Access culture.
Access the classics.
Access the conversation.
Access Now, 91.3 FM. Regina's community radio station.
Local content made for Regina by the people who live here.
Hear what the people in your community are saying and what they are listening to.
It's easy. Same one for everything. What's wrong with that?
Protecting your online accounts from cyber attacks starts with a strong password. Don't use easily guessable passwords and never reuse them across different accounts.
Creating and remembering passwords can be difficult, but password managers can generate complex passwords and store them for you securely.
Learn more at myaccess.ca/cybersecurity.
Saskatchewan has one of the highest poverty rates in all of Canada. So our goal is to remove the financial and social barriers that children and youth from low-income families have to participating in arts and cultural activities. We also want them to be able to learn from knowledge keepers and elders about their cultural heritage. The Access Children's Fund will allow us to support up to 600 children across the province. Thank you to Access for helping us to help more children.
Decision 2020 and District Chamber of Commerce bring you live debate coverage April 22nd and 23rd starting at 6 p.m. Watch it on AccessNow TV, the AccessNow TV app, or on our YouTube channel.
Play Access Communications Children's Fun TV Bingo every Saturday at 5 p.m. for your chance to win big and support children across Saskatchewan. This week's jackpot is $2,500 in 50 numbers or less.
Our award-winning Roots Kitchen and Bar, located in Harbour Landing Village, serves up great food, fostering connection over meals that feel like home. Roots Kitchen and Bar, your local neighborhood hidden gem.
I'm Donnie Uren, owner of Extreme Hockey and Sport in Regina. We specialize in working with our customers and having product knowledge and making sure that we have the right fit so you can produce and perform. The services we have with Access are security, internet, and phone. The experience I've had with Access technicians has been fantastic. They bring a certain personal touch to the game. The response time, the care sets them apart from all competition.
Every child deserves a chance. That's the dream behind the Access Communications Children's Fund, a registered charity that provides assistance to local organizations supporting children who are in need, at risk, or among the most vulnerable in our province. Since 1992, we've donated over $4.1 million to projects in Saskatchewan. If you know of a nonprofit or charitable organization in need of funding, visit myaccess.ca/children's fund.
Harbor Landing Village has a lot under one roof. We're a true community within a community. We have a full age-in-place senior care and living community, a child care center, award-winning restaurant, hair salon, and a home care agency. Reliable internet service for Landing Village because it's the main way our residents stay connected with their friends and family, and equally important as a business, essentially it's the backbone, it's what powers us.
Break free from traditional TV with Access Next TV Stream. Find all your live TV channels and streaming apps in one place. Watch live or recorded shows at home or on the go with the Next TV Stream app. Catch up on programs from the past 3 days, even if you forgot to set them to record.
There's the shot score!
And record and save your favorite shows in the cloud. Watch TV your way for as low as $9.95 a month with Access Next TV Stream. An Access Smart Home is a safer, more efficient home. With the touch of an app, you can see who's at the door, turn down the lights and turn up the heat, tell your furry friend to get off the couch, and sleep sound with around-the-clock home monitoring. Access Smart Home puts you in control. And of course, our famous customer service is always included. Make your home a smarter, safer, more efficient home. Learn more at myaccess.ca.
I'm Donnie Uren, owner of Extreme Hockey and Sport in Regina. We specialize in working with our customers and having product knowledge and making sure that we have the right fit so you can produce and perform. The services we have with Access are security, internet, and phone. The reason I love Access Security, it is user-friendly, easy to manage, and takes a lot off my shoulders. When I leave at the end of the day, I can relax knowing my building's protected.
It's really important that students get physical activity and have positive interactions one-on-one with each other. My name is Joel Dreger, and I'm the principal of Walter W. Brown School in Langham, Saskatchewan. One of the projects that we undertook was to build a new playground facility. We needed to raise about $100,000 for this playground. We just want to thank Access Communications Children's Fund for your generous donation. It really gave us a strong foundation to get our project off the ground.
Decision 2025. AccessNow TV and the Regina and District Chamber of Commerce bring you live debate coverage April 22nd and 23rd starting at 6 p.m. Watch it on AccessNow TV, the AccessNow TV app, or on our YouTube channel.
Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus is pure genius, automatically optimizing the signal in every room of your home so your Wi-Fi is always running at full throttle. Turbocharge your Wi-Fi with Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus. Some homes just aren't made for strong Wi-Fi from backyard to basement. But with Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus, just plug in a pod and cover every corner with wall-to-wall Wi-Fi. Give your Wi-Fi a boost with Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus.
Updating my software takes forever. Why can't I just skip it and do it later?
Outdated software can be vulnerable to security threats, which could compromise your personal information and device. Don't risk it. Update your software regularly to ensure it's equipped with the latest security features and bug fixes.
Users need to implement those updates as soon as possible, because not only is it new features, but they actually fix security vulnerabilities in the software.
Learn more at myaccess.ca/cybersecurity.
Support your community, grow your business. Sponsor an AccessNow TV production, and your company will get unprecedented primetime television coverage and a platform to connect with thousands of people every day. Your logo and your message on all major television networks. We have content that suits your brand, like broadcast sports, talk shows, live events, and everything in between, ensuring that your message will reach the right audience. Call me today to find out more.
Play Axe Fun TV Bingo every Saturday at 5 p.m. for your chance to win big and support children across Saskatchewan. Visit myaccess.ca/TV Bingo.
Our award-winning Roots Kitchen and Bar, located in Harbor Landing Village, serves up great food, fostering connection over meals that feel like home. Roots Kitchen and Bar, your local neighborhood hidden gem.
Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus adds an extra layer of home security without using cameras by detecting motion through Wi-Fi signals. How smart is that? Plug in a pod and secure your home with Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus. Kids grow up fast enough as it is. Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus puts you in control of their screen time and what they see on the net, even when you're not at home. Gain control of your Wi-Fi with Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus.
In Regina. We specialize in working with our customers and having product knowledge and making sure that we have the right fit so you can produce and perform. With Access Internet, I know that I can rely on the service to operate our POS system and our 3D scanner. Access Internet gives us the reassurance that we're able to do proper fittings and takes a lot off my shoulders. I'm getting great service with Access Internet.
Access local music.
Access the alternative.
Assalamu alaikum, namaskar, sat sri akal.
Access culture.
Access the classics.
Access the conversation.
Access Now, 91.3 FM. Regina's community radio station.
Local content made for Regina by the people who live here.
Hear what the people in your community are saying
and what they are listening to.
Saskatchewan to you. Watch great local content, sports, community events, politics, entertainment, and everything in between. Find out more at accessnowtvapp.ca.
It's easy for me to remember passwords because I use the same one for everything. What's wrong with that?
Protecting your online accounts from cyber attacks starts with a strong password. Don't use easily guessable passwords and never reuse them across different accounts.
Creating and remembering passwords can be difficult, but password managers can generate complex passwords and store them for you securely.
Learn more at myaccess.ca/cybersecurity.
Saskatchewan has one of the highest poverty rates in all of Canada. So our goal is to remove the financial and social barriers that children and youth from low-income families have to participating in arts and cultural activities. We also want them to be able to learn from knowledge keepers and cultural heritage. The Access Children's Fund will allow us to support up to 600 children across the province. Thank you to Access for helping us to help more children.
Play Access Communications Children's Fun TV Bingo every Saturday at 5 p.m. for your chance to win big and support children across Saskatchewan. This week's jackpot is $2,500 in 50 numbers or less.
Our award-winning Roots Kitchen and Bar, located in Harbor Landing Village, serves up great food, fostering connection over meals that feel like home. Roots Kitchen and Bar, your local neighborhood hidden gem.
I'm Donnie Uren, owner of Extreme Hockey and Sport in Regina. We specialize in working with our customers and having product knowledge and making sure that we have the right fit so you can produce and perform. The services we have with Access are security, internet, and phone. The experience I've had with Access technicians has been fantastic. They bring a certain personal touch to the game. The response time, the care sets them apart from all competition.
Every child deserves a chance. That's the dream behind the Access Communications Children's Fund, a registered charity that provides assistance to local organizations supporting children who are in need, at risk, or among the most vulnerable in our province. Since 1992, we've donated over $4.1 million to projects in Saskatchewan. If you know of a nonprofit or charitable organization in need of funding, visit myaccess.ca/children's fund.
Harbor Landing Village has a lot under one roof. We're a true community within a community. We have a full age-in-place senior care and living community, a child care center, award-winning restaurant, hair salon, and a home care agency. Reliable internet is important to Harbor Landing Village because it's the main way our residents stay connected with their friends and family, and equally important as a business, essentially it's the backbone, it's what powers us.
Break free from traditional TV with Access Next TV Stream. Find all your live TV channels and streaming apps in one place. Watch live or recorded shows at home or on the go with the Next TV Stream app. Catch up on programs from the past 3 days, even if you forgot to set them to record.
There's the shot, score!
And record and save your favorite shows in the cloud. Watch TV your way for as low as $9.95 a month with Access Next TV Stream. An Access Smart Home is a safer, more efficient home. With the touch of an app, you can see who's at the door, turn down the lights and turn up the heat, tell your furry friend to get off the couch, and sleep sound with around-the-clock home monitoring. And of course, our famous customer service is always included. Make your home a smarter, safer, more efficient home. Learn more at myaccess.ca.
I'm Donnie Uren, owner of Extreme Hockey and Sport in Regina. We specialize in working with our customers and having product knowledge and making sure that we have the right fit so you can produce and perform. The services we have with Access are security, internet, and phone. The reason I love Access Security, it is user-friendly, easy to manage, and takes a lot off my shoulders. When I leave at the end of the day, I can relax knowing my building's protected.
It's really important that students get physical activity and have positive interactions one-on-one with each other. My name is Joel Dreger, and I'm the principal of Walter W. Brown School in Langham, Saskatchewan. One of the projects that we undertook was to build a new playground, $100,000 for this playground. We just want to thank Access Communications Children's Fund for your generous donation. It really gave us a strong foundation to get our project off the ground.
Decision 2025. AccessNow TV and the Regina and District Chamber of Commerce bring you live debate coverage April 22nd and 23rd starting at 6 p.m. Watch it on AccessNow TV, the AccessNow TV app, or on our YouTube channel.
Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus is pure genius, automatically optimizing the signal in every room of your home so your Wi-Fi is always running at full throttle. Turbocharge your Wi-Fi with Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus. Some homes just aren't made for strong Wi-Fi from backyard to basement. But with Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus, just plug in a pod and cover every corner with wall-to-wall Wi-Fi. Give your Wi-Fi a boost with Access Smart Wi-Fi Plus.
Access the alternative.
Access culture.
Access the classics.
Access the fun.
Access the conversation.
Access Now, 91.3 FM.
Local content made for Regina by the people who live here.
Hear what the people in your community are saying
and what they are listening to.
An Access Smart Home is a safer, more efficient home. With the touch of an app, you can see who's at the door, turn down the lights and turn up the heat, tell your furry friend to get off the couch, and sleep sound with around-the-clock home monitoring. Access Smart Home puts you in control. And of course, our famous customer service is always included. Make your home a smarter, safer, more efficient home. Learn more at myaccess.ca.
Access the alternative.
Access culture.
Access the classics.
Access the fun.
Access the conversation.
Access Now, 91.3 FM.
Local content made for Regina by the people who live here.
Hear what the people in your community are saying
and what they are listening to.
I'm Donnie Uren, owner of Extreme Hockey and Sport in Regina. We specialize in working with our customers and having product knowledge and making sure that we have the right fit so you can produce and perform. With Access Internet, I know that I can rely on the service to operate our POS system and our 3D scanner. Access Internet gives us the reassurance that we're able to do proper fittings and takes a lot off my shoulders. I'm getting great service with Access Internet.
Saskatchewan and all of Canada. So our goal is to remove the financial and social barriers that children and youth from low-income families have to participating in arts and cultural activities. We also want them to be able to learn from knowledge keepers and elders about their cultural heritage. The Access Children's Fund will allow us to support up to 600 children across the province. Thank you to Access for helping us to help more children.
Play Access Communications Children's Fun TV Bingo every Saturday at 5 p.m. for your chance to win big and support children across Saskatchewan. This week's jackpot is $2,500 in 50 numbers or less.
Our award-winning Roots Kitchen and Bar, located in Harbour Landing Village, serves up great food, fostering connection over meals that feel like home. Roots Kitchen and Bar, your local neighborhood hidden gem.
I'm excited to host this panel, this federal debate panel. This is my first time. My name's Lisa Peters, and I was just your host moderator, and I'm also the host of Talk of the Town on AccessNow TV. So the purpose of this panel is really just to react to what we just heard in the debates, and really to help inform you. You are the voting public. We want to know, we want to provide you with the information and maybe some opinions of what we think here. We want to discuss key election topics and what the organizations are doing. So we want to get the reactions from some of the industry leaders of today. So I'd like to introduce my panel. Beside me is Bill Probilski. He is with Agricultural Producers of Saskatchewan. We heard one of your questions earlier. We have Stu Niebergall beside him, Regina and Region Home Builders Association, and we have Joel Peterson, GSD Strategies. Welcome to the show, boys. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you.
All right, so overall reactions. Let's start with you, Bill. Overall, what did you think?
Well, actually, I look at these things through an agricultural lens, and obviously a little disappointed in the fact that agriculture is really not mentioned at all during the debate. Not surprising. It even in most debates or talks that we see, agriculture doesn't get a whole lot of mentioning, even though we know that it contributes, agriculture and agri-food contributes to 1 in 9 jobs across the country and something like $150 billion to our national GDP, but it fails to gather a lot of interest across the country.
Yeah, that's a great topic. We're going to come back to that, I believe. Stu, your overall thoughts?
Yeah, watching all 3 debates over this past 2 nights and sitting on the panel twice, I'm very appreciative of that this whole debate actually occurs, especially at the national stage, because it is one of those few opportunities that we actually get to see, our local candidates, not just the national personalities in the election, to understand who we're voting for locally to represent us, and our best interests in Ottawa, regardless of who becomes the next Prime Minister and government.
Yeah, I would agree. We can read all about them, but to actually see them and how they respond and how they stand in front of us, it's a great comment, Stu. And to you, Joel, overall, what did you think?
So I have a government relations firm, and so I'm going to look at it through a political lens. I watched the ones last night as well, and I think what really strikes me is that we have, last night we had 4, we have 12 people who are putting their names forward to stand up for what they believe in and a vision that they have for the country. And I've been involved in politics for about 25 years, and it takes a lot of backbone, a lot of strength to stand up and be involved. So, tip of the hat to these, and agree completely with Stu. It's nice to see you can hear what the national leaders say. You're not really electing a national leader. Yeah. You're electing a representative from your area that you want to be able to carry your values and your opinions forward.
Yeah, high respect to the people who step up to the plate to stand in front of us and be part of the process. So yeah, great comments, Joel. Okay, well, let's go back to your comment. I read the question about agriculture for Canada's growth, and we got a couple crickets. 2 candidates could not answer. Mr. Walters began, so give me some reaction to that.
Well, again, not real surprised. Recognize that agriculture in this constituency in particular is probably not high on a lot of people's minds, but when you think about the impact that agriculture has to the city of Regina with the transportation hub and the crush plants being built and the refinery on the edge of town there, that it is something that should be on everybody's radar in the city of Regina, even though it's not a farming community per se. But there was a lot of talk about the need to reduce interprovincial trade barriers, the need for diversifying our trade with other countries, particularly in light of the tariffs coming from south of the border. So we can grow the stuff here in Saskatchewan. We know that we can do the job of growing this stuff here. We know that there's markets all over the world for the products that we grow. But if we can't get the products that we grow to the people that need it on a timely and effective and cost-effective way, it's just not going to work. So we're really looking for that commitment from whomever forms the next government, that they will take that problem seriously and make the proper investments into the infrastructure that we need to get our product to market.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. Thoughts, Stu, on that question?
I think Bill really nails it. I mean, what is it that we say in this province? Food, fuel, and fertilizer. And yet that has been a really good observation. That has been a very significant component that has been missing from the national discussion. And really outside of the debates, for all 3 nights. And, where that is just so key for our success, both as a province and, to your point, as a city. I don't know the number offhand, but I would imagine that if we went to economic development in Regina, that the amount of GDP that is generated from agriculture for our community would be very significant.
Yeah. Joel.
I mean, the thing that I found, and I said earlier, I was really impressed with the people that stand up. The reality is, though, is you've got to come up with an opinion. To pass it on, as an elector, I'm 4th generation off the farm, but it still means something to me. And whether or not the party has an opinion or you have the opinion on your sheet, for me as a voter, it's important to know what you're thinking. You're going to get asked that question. You're going to have to vote on something sometime in the future, should you get elected, that has some agricultural background or some agricultural relevance to it. And to not say something or to pass on the question, I'm a person that would say, I understand that agriculture is very important in Saskatchewan. It does this, it does that. Maybe not an area that I'm an expert in, but it's something that as an MP, I'll give you a commitment that I will learn, and I'll meet with the right people to be able to have these opinions. To say, I got nothing, it's over to you. It's if you're looking to put check boxes to say this is what this person is going to do for me, it was a little shaky.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Everyone has an opinion, and we should say something. And even if you're not answering the question, I think politicians are very good at that sometimes. Don't always answer the question, but give your opinion. You may not be able to talk about port infrastructure, and that's okay. You should know about agriculture. We are Saskatchewan, and so even if it's not your area. So thank you for that. So we're going to move on to housing affordability. Stu, this is sort of your area. The great Canadian dream of homeowners isn't what it once was. Give us your sort of overall what you thought about what their opinions were and comments.
Yeah, so again, there were some interesting components here. One of the things I commented on yesterday, and which made it a little unfortunate that for whatever reason that the Conservatives weren't able to be part of the debate tonight. Because, as I said last night, the Liberals and the Conservatives, when it comes to housing, their policies are, public policy is relatively the same in many areas other than one, but in many areas, and, the nuances in this are really, really important if you're going to tackle housing affordability. And so, I would give an example of that. Both the Conservatives and the Liberals have talked about, reducing development charges by 50% in this country to address housing affordability. And that's great. And, that's something we're very supportive. But the details in this really matter. Municipalities are not charging high development charges for any other reason. They need funding mechanisms, to deliver the infrastructure that we need to build the communities and the new neighborhoods. So without answers to those questions, how are we going to fund that in the future? Those are the unanswered questions when, and those nuances that are important to best understand the differences between, say, the two front runners, the Conservatives and the Liberals. And then, what makes me think about the NDP platform, is their discussion about rent controls, right? And, I absolutely, when you look at the literature and the discussion, because rent control is not new. Rent control in different jurisdictions is well over 100 years old, and it's been well understood, and it's been well studied. And so I really understand where the passion comes from to get that cost under control because it's affecting people. But again, if you look at the success of rent control, it has not had the desired outcome. All it has actually accomplished in the marketplace is stopped investment within those communities, which actually makes the problem worse. So yeah, those are a couple of thoughts on affordability as it relates to tonight.
All right, thanks, Stu. Joel, your thoughts?
Kind of picking up on what Stu said, the issue is when you get the devil's always in the details in politics, and it sort of is, but it isn't. There's only one taxpayer. So when the federal government says we're going to do this to the municipalities or the province or whatever, the amount of money that they need still has to come to someone. So if, when Stu says, yeah, we'll make municipalities charge half so that we can increase this. Okay, the municipalities still need the money to be able to have the sewer, to put the roads in, to do the sidewalk, to clean the snow and so on. I'm still the taxpayer on that. So it's just shifting the responsibility. And really what you want is a holistic solution, something that says, okay, we recognize that this is an issue, this is an issue, this is an issue, and this is an issue. You just can't point at one. It's going to come out of my wallet and Stu's wallet and Bill's wallet and your wallet.
Yeah, and along with that, Joel, again, I can't really speak tonight to the debate on the Conservatives because I wasn't part of the debate tonight. But I know with the Liberals, ambitious discussion or initiative related to, building a new Crown corporation to build 500,000 homes a year. And again, I get where they are trying to fill a need and an important need, and they see a gap in the marketplace that the market is not filling. But my own observation would be, I think most of us intuitively don't have a feeling that government is the most efficient in delivering services that the private sector is set up to better deliver, that they're going to be able to do a better job than the private sector here. So again, in theory, I get the logic. In practice, I would be pretty concerned how they will actually deliver on that. If the private sector is struggling to deliver on that, how will government deliver on that? Not just to get it built, but to get it built more affordably, right? It maybe demonstrates a little bit of lack of understanding of what the actual challenges are.
You commented about government relations. Joel, I'm going to come back to you. You kind of laughed a little bit. Do you have an opinion on just being involved?
Stu's point, it was more about having a Crown Corporation come in and say, we're going to do this. The running joke in politics is, hi, I'm from the government. I'm here to help. And I'm not convinced people believe that anymore. I think that there are probably private market ways to address this situation. Housing affordability is wages. It's a whole bunch of things. It's not just the lack of houses. It's being able to afford a house, being able to determine what your house is. It's maybe a point of lowering expectations. I didn't expect to own the house that I own now when I first bought. I bought and moved up. So, it's interesting. But it was more the, hi, I'm from the government. We're here to help.
Well, I think, Joel, one of the things when you look at the data, I mean, for the generation under 35 and certainly under 30, the aspiration for home ownership is actually some of the highest. The desire to be homeowners is some of the highest that we've actually ever measured. Okay. But the issue is that, you know, it appears in the data about half of people under that age believe that's going to be unattainable within their lifetime. And I think that really goes to the root of housing affordability. And you know, what's not often understood is what the federal government's role is in this. And in an oversimplified way, you know, the municipality decides where we're going to live, right, by the neighborhoods that they approve. The provincial government makes decisions about what kind of development charges and what kind of taxation is going to be provincially on those houses. And what the federal government really does is decide which of us are going to be renters the rest of our lives and which one of us are going to be homeowners. And they do that through the control of the mortgage rules, right? And their decisions around that. And that's actually been something that's been missing from this federal election from all parties when it comes to the issue of home ownership and housing affordability. The government's role in terms of mortgage rules moving forward.
All right. Did you have any comments, Bill?
Well, it certainly isn't my area of expertise, and but I would suggest that you know, in our province in particular, that the housing affordability ties into all the other types of affordability for automobiles and for vacations, whatever people are needing to spend their money on. And it comes back to earning a decent wage, and we need the infrastructure. We need to, you know, have the industry attracted to the province to provide those good paying jobs for people so that they can afford whatever it is that they need to buy. So you know, I think it can all come back to that initial infrastructure question.
Yeah. Joel, yesterday we were in the green room after the first debate. We were talking about the housing affordability, and we talked about the demographic and who's buying the houses, the first-time home buyers. You commented about being 30 plus. They don't think they can afford it. Is that sort of that age? Like, who are the people that are buying the houses? What's the age group? I don't know if you know that.
I think historically, you know, once people are getting into their 30s, potentially partnering, coupling up, you know, et cetera, thinking about starting a family, that's a very natural time for them to be moving into home ownership. I think, again, there's stats. This would be fairly old. I don't know what the modern stats were, but a decade ago, you know, newcomers to our country, first-time newcomers, it took them on average about 9 years to move from being renters to homeowners. And so it would be interesting to know how those stats have changed, you know, today in our new environment. And here in the province, you know, a province that has so much going for it, has such a positive impact on not just our local economy, but the Canadian economy as a whole. Yet we've always struggled a little bit with stickiness, right? That, you know, keeping people here, keeping the newcomers here, you know. So a province like ours, you know, getting people into home ownership should be a key priority because it helps with that stickiness, right?
All right, we're going to move on to national infrastructure, in particular the pipeline, and how that will happen. I think there was a lot of talk about it, but I'm not sure there were any answers. We'll start first with you, Joel.
Well, I think we had a little bit of a discussion beforehand on this. I think part of the issue with the pipeline and part of the issue with politics over the last little while has been the blurring of the lines between what's a provincial mandate, what's a federal mandate, what's a municipal mandate. You know, I've worked for a number of companies, and companies are really resilient if they know what the rules are. But it's as the rules change, it makes it tougher and tougher to figure out what's going on. So, I mean, when you're talking about pipelines and infrastructure, you have to figure out, I know in a case of uranium mines, the province can do an environmental assessment and say, good, we're good, you can have it, you can build it. Then there's got to be a federal one, which is a duplication of what it is. I'm pretty sure it's the same information. And, those kind of delays stop companies from investing. When you talk about infrastructure, it's figuring out the plan, it's the grand scheme, and then figuring out how to get it backwards, I think.
All right. Bill, any comments?
Yeah, certainly from an agriculture perspective, again, we really promoting the idea of more pipelines to get the oil off the rail and into a pipe, so that frees up that space for other commodities like grain, like potash, and those types of things. So certainly we would be heavily in favor of it, of pipelines, and I think of the Team Canada approach that a lot of people have talked about lately, that we need to look at this as a national issue and have the regulations in place, have the just that general feeling that this is something that needs to get done, whatever it takes, let's get her done.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the approach has to be national.
Absolutely.
Right, like everybody has to buy in this to make it happen. The problem right now is it's not been national. It's been one province saying we need to move our oil out, and another province saying, well, we don't want we don't want the oil here, or we don't want it that way. We built a train track across Canada. We built 2 train tracks across Canada. We built a highway. We built a walking path. We should be able to do that if we put our minds to it. And the tariff situation and things coming back to Canada right now, these are the things that are going to make a difference. If the world stays the same as it is right now, we have to figure out different ways of doing stuff.
Yeah. Stu?
Again, just echoing their comments, one of the things that has struck me in this particular election, and it is the time we're in, and it is the response that Canadians have had to the 51st state, etc. I have never in my lifetime heard as much of an opportunity to get that pipeline built across Canada as it is at this very, very moment. Yet, so when you listen to the federal policy, campaign platforms, and actually, what we've heard on this over the last 2 nights of the debate, pretty much everybody agrees we should build this. What is missing again from the platforms to separate who is how are you going to get that done, right? What's your strategy as a party to be able to implement that? So that's on knowing, and without that knowing, then it just goes purely back to faith that whoever gets elected, they're going to do something in this area. That doesn't feel like that strong of a commitment at the end of the day.
Yeah. Another thing we talked about, we heard a lot from the People's Party about federal constitution and sticking in your lane. Just wondering, between the federal and the provincial, just wondering any thoughts on that? If you'd like to start, Bill.
Well, again, I think it comes back to the need for that Team Canada approach. And certainly there are areas that the provincial jurisdiction needs to be front and center just because of the sheer nature of the business. So, I think of agriculture again. Commodity agriculture, like us that grow grains and stuff, we export majority of what we grow. So transportation issues from one province to the other sometimes differ. So those types of things that need a provincial lens to it. But then we have to look at it from the good of the country. And there's certainly a lot of areas where we can maybe give up some of that control provincially and look at it as a Team Canada approach, and for the betterment of the country, we can afford to look at things a little differently.
Yeah, good. Stu?
I think listening to the People's Party's debate, and I think that comment about the Constitution and where responsibility lies, I actually think that is their strongest point that they've made through all of the debates. It's one that is probably lost on most of us. But when I think again as Canada as a whole and the challenges sometimes we face getting along on things, and I reflect back on that, probably the biggest factor there, again, irregardless of party stripes, it's actually been this blurring of the lines. I think that's where most of your provincial and federal, angst and regional angst is usually the root of it. That somebody has got into somebody else's jurisdiction, and very well intended, it just never seems to make things better, does it?
Yeah. Good. Joel.
Well, I've spoken a little bit about this previously. I think people are relatively resilient. What you want to know is what the rules are. People are really creative on figuring out how to abide by the rules, get around the rules or whatever. They just want to know what the rules are. And I think over the last little while, that blurring, and I don't even know if it's a blurring. I think it is a confusion about, what we have to do. If you want a company to come, you say, these are the rules, this is what you have to do, this is how you proceed forward, and this is a timeline that you can get there. Because the company comes back and says, well, we can afford to do that given this time period. And yeah, I think that you need, and maybe it's a clarity around the rules. One of the things that I think you could probably do is you could appoint people that say, if you have a company like, for example, BHP coming in, that there's a person that they can talk to that says, here's the process, right? And it's municipal, it's federal, it's all good for Canada. Let's figure out how to do it and how to make it happen. And if you don't have that, companies will go to other jurisdictions that are easier to work with.
Yeah, again, Joel, that is such an important point, in terms of attracting investment. Investment wants a combination of certainty and flexibility, which can be hard things to deliver on, but certainty trumps everything,
Yeah. I liked your comment just about knowing the rules. I want to know the other person's rules too, right? You got to work with someone, understanding yours, but understanding theirs to communicate. Any other comments? We're running out of time. We did the half hour, boys.
That's fantastic.
Thanks. But no one talked about the elephant in the room who didn't show up tonight. Just saying. Because that was a comment. A couple of them they kept using. Show up. They showed up. No. All right. Well, I want to thank all of you for coming. Beside me, Bill Probilski, Agriculture Producers of Saskatchewan, Stu Niebergall, Regina Region Home Builders Association, and Joel Peterson, GSD Strategies. Thank you guys for showing up tonight. We did it. I want to thank you, viewers, for joining us for the federal debates and this panel. I have enjoyed the last 2 nights, the 3 debates. We hope that you get out there and vote. April 28th is the day, and I want to thank you for joining us here on Access Communication, and I want to thank our teams all around us for helping bring you the federal debates. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
If you'd like to share your feedback on the program you just watched, contact us today